action. Take a look at me and tell me, am I what I am today, or am I still what I used to be? If you say yes, well then I will prove you wrong. If you say no, well then I'll go with you strong. Because I know the black man of today is not what he used to be yesterday. He has moved from the cotton fields and from the bondage of slavery right into major universities and graduating with honors and degrees. So many doctors and lawyers, presidents, prime ministers, who not so long owned their slaves and inventors. My friend, what else can I say? But the black man has really come a long way. Some still calls him stupid, ignorant and dumb, ignoring completely the conditions and where he came from. Deprived of his right to learn, and yet still he learn. And in any field he can hold his own. This is not no questionnaire or quiz, but if that's not progress, you tell me what is. Moving from the cotton fields and from the darkness of slavery right into major universities and graduating with honors and degrees. So many doctors and lawyers, presidents, prime ministers who not so long were mere slaves and inventors. My friend, what else must I say? But the black man has really come a long way. Admit it, that some illiteracy still prevails. But you must admit though, comparatively, it's on no big scale. After all, a man being chastised and being despised to the point where he has been dehumanized, programmed to function against his will, must be excused in the process of learning still. Now he's moved from dependency to partial independence. Against all odds, he showed his competence. Confound those who excite him into ignorance. So many preachers, educators, entrepreneurs, inventors who have fought the system to become real producers. Well then, what else must I say? But the black man has really come a long way. Now I know you have come real far, but that doesn't say no. Now you have to stay right where you are. Keep on moving up, I beg you don't stop. There is always room for you at the top. Teach your children the things that are right, cause the black man is yet to reach his real height. Though he's moved from the cotton fields and from the bondage of slavery right into major universities and graduating with honor and degrees. So many doctors and lawyers, presidents, prime ministers who not so long ago were mere slaves and inventors. My friend, what else can I say? But the black man has really come a long way. I'm asking you, look at him today. Black man has really come a long way. Teach our children as we go along the way. Black man has really come a long way. Show them the future, don't let them dwell on yesterday. Black man has really come a long way. I know for sure there is lots more along the way. Black man has really come a long way. I hope if you could hear, you should listen. Is it wrong information that we absorb from creation? Tell me now, because I want to know. Or from the day God made man with this great omnipotence, say this wide world has to be just so. How all other races try their best to unite. Why the black man always in a fight? This foolishness been going on too long. This fragmentation is what keeping the black man down. Learn to know I am black, my brother, and you are black as me. So why can't we think of ourselves equally? Let us put our thoughts way up on the shelf. And to hell with those who hate us, let us love ourselves. I mean, it's time we stick together. We have to learn every black and black man is a brother. Are we all too blind to see all the wrong things they did to we from since in the days of slavery? Ill-treated by the massa who changed our names and our culture, we were weak, so we could do better. But now we could do better, and we should be strong. Instead of making things right by correcting all the wrong, it sure breaks my heart today when I see, like the black race in receivership of bankruptcy. But we don't know that I am black, my brother, and you are black as me. So why can't we think of ourselves equally? Let us put our thoughts way upon the shelf. And to hell with those who hate us, let us love ourselves. I mean, it's time we stick together. When would we learn every black and black man is a brother? They used to call us stupid, saying we must be divided, and I thought that we were thinking fast. And days for stupidity, ignorance, and hatred among ourselves had already passed. Instead, black children despise their education, for that placing a heavy burden on the shoulder of the black man. Take a walk down the streets and see, is this the way you think the black man's supposed to be? But we don't know that I am black, my brother, and you're black as me. So how long again would it ever take us to see? We must reassess our position, recondition our mind. Because where we have fallen, we are lagging far behind. We need redirection at any cost. Or as a people or race, we are doomed and lost. We celebrate emancipation, but why this grand celebration when we despise all that's black and great? There's no continuation of the greatness of the black man, yet we see the need to celebrate. We are in a stupor, a quagmire, nothing short of an avast. All we do is boast of greatness blacks have done in the past. Modern day black man, look wrong and see, we are emancipated from our great black legacy. But we don't know that I am black and you are black as me. So why can't we think of ourselves equally? Let us put our thoughts way up on the shelf. And to hell with those who exploit us, don't exploit ourselves. I mean, it's time we think where we are from. Like Martin Luther, let us sing, we shall overcome.
Ominera la sikuye fubuk buawa ene ya dudu.
I'm hearing cries of frustration. I'm hearing cries of marginalization. I'm hearing cries of discrimination. I'm hearing cries of alienation. been all that and more.
all that and more.
And you know it, I'm sure. But you take it, rolling over. Black man, where is your cry? Black man, where is your cry? Black man, where? Black man, where? Black man, where is your cry? Black man, where? Black man, where? Black man, where is your cry? Systematic elimination seems to be our waiting flight. The complacency of the black man seems to make it all alright. I've seen all that and more,
All that and more.
and you've seen it, I'm sure. Yes, we take it, rolling over. Black man, where is your cry? Black man, where is your cry? Black man, where? Black man, where? Black man, where is your cry? Black man, where? Black man, where? Black man, where is your cry?
Ominera,
Lasikuye,
fubo, buwawa, ineya dudu. Ominera, lasikuye, fubo, buwawa, ineya dudu.
I see black children resent education, bringing the black race further down. I see my country as a ladder, and the black man on the lowest round. I've seen all that and more,
All that and more.
and you've seen it, I'm sure. Yet we take it, rolling over. Black man, where is your cry? Black man, where is your cry? Black man, where? Black man, where? Black man, where is your cry? Black man, where? Black man, where? Black man, where is your cry? There's no practice of your culture. You take no pride in your race. While there's a struggle for identity, you would not stand and take your place. I've seen all that and more,
All that and more.
and you've seen it, I'm sure. If we take rolling over, black man, where is your cry? Black man, where is your cry? Black man, where? Black man, where?
Where is your cry?
Black man, where? Black man.
Black man, where? is your cry? I've seen that and more. This is not about me. We are just part of a tradition. Winston Peters, the gypsy out of Trinidad and Tobago, giving us 3 pieces. One griot. 3 pieces. Black man, where is your cry? Why don't you stand up for your identity? Stand up and take your place in a world that you have helped build. Black man, where is your cry? Take your stand. Before that, the black man has come a long way from the cotton fields and the cane fields to the present, giving thanks and praise to the movement of the black man from the plantation to a state of relative freedom. Black man, where is your cry? Asking the black man to take your place. Black man, you've come a long way, celebrating the black man moving. Then black man, why are you so divided? Black unity, 3 themes. 1 griot, 1 night in politics 101. Black unity. Black plea. Where is your cry? And black achievement. If you were to take one of those calypsos, black man, where is your cry? You will say, gypsy, just criticizing black man. But gypsy also celebrates the black man. He also talks about black unity. I'm saying that because in our politics, sometimes somebody speaks for an hour and a half. We take 30 seconds. You know, these days you cut it out and you put it out there. David Hines condemning black people. David Hines has spent years and years and years, and in this time, taking blows for standing for black people and with black people. Yet, when David Hines dares to say to black people, but you make a mistake. Those who don't love black people say, look, David Hines cussing black people. That's the country we live in. And some black people are into it too. Some black people are into it. May the ancestors continue to over us, to shine the light so that we may see the path to a sense of ourselves, a sense of ourselves. You know, in my journey, I have met many Indian Guyanese brothers and sisters in particular, who have stood with black people, who have put their lives on the line for the black cause. In America, there are white people, some white people do the same. In Guyana, there are some Indian Guyanese who have done it. And they continue to do it. But when they step back and they see black people, some black people, shoving themselves back onto the plantation, I wonder what those Indian Guyanese and Portuguese Guyanese who have stood with us, I wonder what they're saying. I wonder what they're saying. Let me just hail those non-African brothers and sisters who have stood with us, stood with our cause. Just hail them up, give thanks. Sometimes in this world, you can't do it all alone. Ultimately, you must do it. But sometimes allies are important. Allies are important. There's some of them who are on this program. I can think of the family from West Bobis who had their butcher shop razed to the ground, the Aziz, because they belong to a party that is considered to be a black party. They take the humiliation, the threat to their lives for African Guyanese. And I wonder what they say sometimes when they see some African Guyanese moving sideways. I give thanks to all those non-Africans who have stood with Africans and stood with our cause. Our cause is a constant cause. We see it every day. We see the anti-black racism every day. And then we see it in high places, not just low places, in high places. We see it from those who are clear about where they stand as far as we are concerned. And we see it from those who have befriended us, but yet in the dark reaches of their consciousness, there is something. Thomas Jefferson, they say he was the smartest, as Americans would say, smart. Wingano would say bright. He was the brightest of the founding fathers, they say. He was the man that wrote the Emancipation, not the Emancipation, wrote the Declaration of Independence, those beautiful words. And he raised the question about the fate of the African. How can all men be created equal when the African is a slave? He himself is a slave owner. He was overruled. They say that if that question were to be answered in the way it should be answered, they might not have been the United States. So they kicked the ball down the road. But Jefferson himself, 1781, Notes on the State of Virginia, small travel booklet. It wasn't a political booklet, but he was advertising Virginia. But in that booklet, he raised the question about Native Indians and Africans. He said Native Indians are white people in brown skin, and so they could be civilized. But he questioned whether black people, African people, could be civilized. And he said he didn't know, he had his doubts. He's leaning more that they could not be civilized, but he left it to science to civilize them. In that sense, Jefferson is the first major American theorist of race. Anti-black racism has been constant since black people were enslaved. It has followed the world and followed us. And so one ought not to be too surprised when you hear racism coming out of the mouths of people who are powerful. It's there, it's there. Even some black people, black elite people, engage in anti-black racism. Jefferson himself, Sally Hemings was his favorite girlfriend. Wherever he went, he took her with him. She was black. He had children for him. But he owned slaves. His lover was African, but he enslaved African. He owned African. The contradictions, as they would say. And that is why sometimes I say race is not an individual construct. As individuals, we can love across race. We often do. We can have romance across race. We often do. But that does not mean that we are not capable of racism. We are, because racism is a collective construct. When the voice on that tape that is deemed to be Mr. Muhammad, he said, all you black men are the same. He's berating this man for being a bad man. And then he said, you're just like the rest of black people. So he moves from the individual black man and he categorizes and puts him in the larger group that is no good. So it's, you see, when he said in the individual, you're no good, all you want is money and you're this and you're that. And he can say, well, I was berating an individual, and he's correct. That's not racism. But then he locates that individual and the berating of the individual in the larger thing called black man. And that's the racism, is that you are identifying the individual with a larger group that you have a negative view of. That's the racism, brothers and sisters. That's the racism. And because people are political supporters of the person alleged, I see some black people are dancing. They're not doing an African dance, but they're dancing around. They're finding all things. They're saying it's AI. They're saying it's AB. They're saying, And so we are in this funny place where, because I support you politically, I am permitting you to berate me. I am permitting you to be racist towards me because I support you or vote for you. That is the situation that some of our African brothers and sisters have found themselves on this issue. Where you're making a choice between, you're forced to make a choice between political allegiance and the dignity, your dignity as a person that is black. You trade your racial dignity for political support. It's a bad place, very bad place. And that's the point I'm trying to drive home, that the African is in a bad place. Some Africans, but ultimately it reflects the larger group. We make political choices. Black people have voted for white people in America all their lives. And then the one chance they got in 2008 and 2012, when white people decided to whiten a black man in Obama, and black people say, okay, here is our chance to help get elected a black man. And they voted black. They didn't vote Republican. They say, forget about that Republican and Democratic thing. In this election, 2008, we are voting black. We've been voting white all the time. We've been voting Democratic white or Republican white. But here is a chance where white people look as though they're going to vote for this black man. And so Colin Powell, who was Republican, he voted for Obama. Or the black Republicans voted for Obama. Black Democrats voted for Obama, but they voted race. Had they not voted race, Obama would not be president. I'm saying that to say there's nothing wrong in voting race. They voted their racial interest because they saw an opportunity for the first time for the black world to see a black man as the president of the most powerful country in the world, and by extension, as president of the world. They move smart. In Guyana, they tell you don't vote race. What ignorance. And some of us get into that thing that we shouldn't vote race. What white people did was to take Obama and whiten him. Biden said, I'm going for Obama because he doesn't speak Ebonics. If he doesn't have to. He's clean shaven, that was Biden. What he was doing there, he was whitening Obama. Clean shaven, don't speak Obama or Ebonics. Obama made him his vice president, vice presidential candidate. Move smart. As white people were blackening Obama to make him palatable to them, as white people were doing that, black people said, aha, here is our opportunity. Hillary Clinton, we were voting for you based on pragmatism. But sorry, we're going to leave you and vote no vote race. And that's how Obama became president of America and the world, because black people voted race. If you took away the black vote, Obama would not be president. Would not be president. And so, sisters and brothers, our group, as a people, black people, have to get back to a point where we recognize the world that we live in, the country that we live in, and the vote that we have, and how we use that vote. Many of you will disagree with me, but I think the black vote was used badly at the last election. The outcomes have shown that. As I've said here on this program, you cannot, in a multi-ethnic society in which you have three major ethnic groups, Africans, Indians, and Native Indians, indigenous people, Amerindians. Yet when you look at the top offices, President Indian, Vice President Indian, Attorney General Indian, that's the executive branch. Prime Minister Black, but in an Indian party. You go to the legislature, the parliament, Speaker, Indian, Deputy Speaker, Indian, Leader of the opposition, Indian. You then go to the other branch, the judicial branch. An African as chancellor, but the Chief Justice is Indian. And a lot of major cases go to the Chief Justice first before it goes up to the appeal court. And often if the appeal court overturns, it goes to the CCJ. So we have the chancellor in charge of the appeal court, but the appeal court, often the Indian government overrides and goes to the CCJ. So if you look at the major office holders in the state, that is the three branches that make up the state: the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch. It's 90% Indian. Not one Amerindian. Not one Amerindian. And one African in the executive branch, and that African belongs to the Indian party. And we have the chancellor, the acting chancellor, who's African, but who's nestled there between a CCJ that is voted with the government most of the time, and the Chief Justice, who's Indian. So the power centers are mainly Indian, no Amerindian, 2 Africans. You go to the other arms of the state, the coercive arm of the state, the police and the army. The army is led by an Indian. The police is led by an African, but an African who, by his action, seems to be more aligned with the Indian party. No Amerindian. An Indian and an African who's allied to an Indian party. How can you say that we're a multi-ethnic society? And when you look up, you don't see yourself represented in the state at all? No Amerindians? Africans have some tokens? And yet we move as if we live in a normal society. Something ought to be wrong with us. Those of us who are the opinion shapers in the society. You wake up every morning and you just go along and then when you come to make analysis, you make analysis ignoring what I just said there. The head of GCOM, which decides elections, is determined by who is the opposition leader and who is the president. And the opposition leader and president are both Indians. They ultimately decide who heads GCOM, and we have had our experiences with GCOM. That's not a normal society. And the fact that people go around the place and behave as though it's a normal society is what bothers me. We are a dysfunctional society. We have a dysfunctional government system. We have a dysfunctional state system. It is dysfunctional not because it is undemocratic only. Yes, the state is undemocratic. The government acts undemocratic, but it is racially undemocratic. And we talk about democracy as though democracy is out there in the sky. We do not link democracy to gender. We do not link democracy to race and ethnicity. We talk about democracy as though it's something outside of race and ethnicity, outside of gender, outside of class. I go back to the United States. When the United States was being formed, the founding fathers were all white men who owned property, all of them. And what was the property? The highest form of property? Slaves. So here was a group of white men who owned property. And you know who they gave the vote to first? Who were the first citizens, meaning the right to vote? It was white men who owned property. Not white women, not black people, not native Indians. It was white men who owned property. Well, if the people who are writing the Constitution are white men who own property, of course they're going to empower themselves. It's part of human nature. Unless you create institutions to hold in check human nature. Human nature means that people are likely to be selfish. And we look at a country in which the state, the power centers are 90% African, and we behave as though we can have democracy in a society like that. How are you going to have democracy when the levers of power? I have not gone yet to economic power. I've not gone yet to economic power. where the economic power lies in our society. Who are the holders of wealth? Individual wealth and collective wealth. The individual wealth, insofar as wealth in the hands of individuals, is a class of individuals of two ethnicities. 90% and more, Indians and Portuguese. And yet when we talk about wealth, sometimes we talk about wealth as though it's unconnected to ethnicity and race and class and gender. Sometimes we throw in class because we can get away with it. So when it's economic power, political power, and he or she who owns economic power is able to influence political power. And the wealth that goes into the hands of the individual, 90% of it goes in the hands of the elites of two races. And the wealth that is held by the state for the people, that state is controlled by East Indians. Where is the African? Where is the Amerindian? It cannot be a democratic society. I hear we talk about democracy all the time. And I sometimes wonder, what are we talking about? Western democracy holds that the people must be represented in the halls of power. Well, who are the people of Guyana? We say we are the land of six peoples. Are our six peoples equitably represented in the halls of power? And the answer is no. No. Power is exercised by those who the system allows to exercise power. You know, you go to election, a party wins an election, the party representatives exercise power. But then we have this thing called the opposition. And that, what we assume there is that there is a check on that power. You have the power and you have a check on power. You have institutional checks on power. Institutional checks on power. And then you have the opposition, which has, through the institutions, which has power to exercise also. So the real democracy assumes that there are checks and balances. The checks are supposed to balance those who have power. But where are the checks in Guyana? GECOM has given us 2 rigged elections in 2020, 2025. Nothing to check. Nothing to stop them. Nothing to stop them. No check. The foreign people said that the PPP dominated. They had an unfair advantage at the last election. No check. No check. Parliament is divided between among representatives of 4 parties. Yet one party determines when Parliament meets, when the opposition leader is elected, determines everything. The system allows that. There's no check on the opposition. Winners 19 seats. And it's hollering, we want our leader to be elected as the leader of the opposition. And the government sits there and does nothing. Well, we see now the foreigners have said, well, you got to do it. And I'm sure they're going to do it now that the foreigners have said that. But there's nothing in our system. We have some vague things, Article 13 and all, but those things are not enforceable. They're not enforceable. We have some things in the Constitution, but they're not enforceable. And the government has a way of circumventing the Constitution. And there's no check. Government can decide when to give the so-called cash grants. Laughing at people. People are depending on the thing for Christmas. Tell them, behave by yourself. You all might get it. They behave, then they get it. What we have is a dysfunctional political system masquerading as a democracy. And some of us, make our analysis based on this thing that there is something here in Guyana called democracy. So we must act democratically against a government and a state that are undemocratic. That's what we are asked to do. We are in, I'm using this word very regularly these days. We are in a very, very untidy place, a very untidy country, with a very untidy system. And we take it rolling over, according to Gypsy. Because we bring to bear false tools of analysis. I've said, and I'm repeating it here, there are two things that have moved this government from its dirty ways. Street protest. And not street protest where you march up and down the place and sing hallelujah, hallelujah. Street protests that threaten the very basis of their government. It's either that has moved them or the external forces that have moved them. The Americans have threatened this government. They call them up to Washington. They come back in. They thumb their nose at the Americans. And so we have to be very careful. We can't want to say the Americans are wrong to go and intervene in Venezuela. And then we want the Americans here now to remove our government. But that's where the logic of our politics have taken us. Because we do not have agency as Guyanese. People can say at a theoretical level there is agency. And, we are individuals and we have agency and so on. Formally, we have abandoned that agency and we have abandoned the streets. And so now we have to look to the Americans to remove the government for us, to tell the government what to do. It's an untidy place where we are forced to give up our sovereignty. If America were to come in and remove the PPP government tomorrow, half of the population would be on the streets jumping for joy. And maybe some of them who voted PPP would also jump for joy. That is the place that we are in. It's an untidy place where our people have lost their sense. They have abandoned their sense of agency. They feel that they really don't have agency. And they're looking to external forces. And then our government, which itself was installed by external forces, CARICOM, OAS, EU, the Americans, the Europeans, Canadians. The government himself is at the behest of those External forces. And so the government looks to external forces, and the people look into external forces. That's where we are, and we are forced to talk about our independence. What independence? What independence? The irony is that if we use the one tool that we have at our disposal, which is to take to the streets and force the government, pressure the government, the very external forces are going to step in and say, we're not in favor of that. So we are in a tangle. We're in a tangle. And Guyanese, if we don't see that, we're in real trouble. We're in real trouble. I noticed the census is out. And what is showing is that in 12 years, 2012 to 2025, so that's 13 years, our population has grown by 200 and something thousand. I've not had a chance to study the figures. I've looked at them. I'm not a statistician and not a population person, so I don't want to put my mouth in something that I am not an expert on. But what I do know is that it takes some explanation to tell Guyanese people that given the outward migration, the trend of outward migration over the decades, how in 13 years, the population has grown by 200%, 200,000 people. That will take some explaining. I looked at the figures to see how many non-Guyanese, and I think 90% of those captured in the census, they say, are Guyanese born in Guyana. So therefore, the census doesn't seem to be saying that it doesn't seem to capture the large number of immigrants from Latin America and other places that we are seeing on the streets. Because the census is saying that over 90% of those captured in the census are Guyanese who are born of Guyana or born of Guyanese parents. Now, we've been hearing that a lot of the Venezuelans who are coming back are really Guyanese who left and went to Venezuela. They had children there and the children are coming back. Could it be that the 200,000 people are captured there? I don't know. But I'm saying a lot of explanation has to be done to tell me where that 200,000 come from, and to tell our country where the 200,000 come from. It seems that Region 3, according to the census, has the largest rise in population size. Region 3. Why Region 3? And who are these people in Region 3 that explains Region 3 as the fastest growing region in the country? Who are these people? We know that Region 3, East Indians there represent the highest population group. As the East Indian population in Region 3 grown, are there immigrants from other countries that who are settled in Region 3? Where this rise in population in Region 3 comes from? Who are these people? What is their ethnicity? We've got to answer that. Region 6, they say, has the slowest growth, and that could be seen by the naked eye. Could be seen by the naked eye. The PPP, I think, couldn't get away from that. But it's interesting that Region 6 has the lowest growth, that's a PPP stronghold, and Region 3 has the highest growth, a PPP stronghold. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. And Region 4 and Region 10, Region 4, where people would normally flock to, the capital is there, all the economic centers are there, but yet that Region 4 doesn't have the highest percentage growth. In numeric raw numbers, it may have more growth than other regions, but percentage-wise, it doesn't. Region 10 does not even feature. So when you attack that thing from a political and ethnic standpoint, there are lots of questions to be answered. I took an interest in the household because our party, the Working People's Alliance, are very clear that this cash transfer should go to household, and I notice households have increased. The size of the household has decreased. So I think it's now 3.2 person per household, as opposed to, I think, 3.9. And where there was about 220 households, there are now 280 something thousand households. So there is a lot there, and I don't want to fire off without hearing the people who are the economists and the statisticians who are going to come through. But with my naked eye, I am saying, I'm looking at it as a political scientist. Where there is a decrease and where the increase is, and which party dominates those regions. That's very interesting. I think the government, the question has to be asked, why delay the census until after the election? And very interesting, you give us two figures. You give us the figures to 2022, and then you give us the figures to 2025. Well, if you had the 2022 figures, why you didn't release it all the time? You can't tell me something is not up there. Something is up. Because you have 2022 numbers, and you're releasing them at the same time as you're releasing 2025 numbers. Something is not right. Something is not right. The question for the government people is this. We know that there is a bloated list, electoral list. Have the numbers in the census been manipulated to justify the bloated list, sorry? That is a question I want to be answered. My suspicion is that it is, if I were to think, I would advance that as my hypothesis, that the rise in the population size, unexpectedly, I should say, that rise has to do with a justification of the bloated list. That would be my starting point. We will have to look at the death rate, infant mortality rate, outward migration rate, all of those things to tell us how we have jumped for the first time in a long, long time. Because from the time I was a boy, our population was even. a little growth here, a little growth there, small growth rate, and then it started to decrease. And now you have this big increase. Something must be happening in the society to, of course, that increase. And we don't have the answers yet. And like I said, I can only raise questions. The Bureau of Statistics, but more than the Bureau of Statistics, the political people, the economists and so on, will have to come through those numbers and tell us what those numbers mean. What the Bureau of Statistics would give us is the numbers. They will give us the numbers, but then the population experts, the economists, the political scientists, they will have to tell us what the numbers tell us politically, economically, etc. So that's where things are with that. I shall be, as we all shall be, waiting to see what's behind those numbers. But I am not satisfied that those numbers are, I'm not satisfied that those numbers are necessarily clean. I will leave it there. I will leave it there. I think some manipulation took place during the period of the delay. And like I said, what jumped out at me immediately is that we did not just get the figures up to 2022, we also got the figures up to 2025. That's unusual. That's unusual. We shall wait and see what is going to come of those numbers. Well, we are at this juncture where we're going to wait to see when the government will acquiesce to the demands of the external forces vis-a-vis the election of the opposition leader. And we shall see where that goes. I notice the president has accepted the explanation from the beleaguered minister, Minister Rodriguez. So it seems as though that she has cleared with her boss that she has not been involved in corruption, and the boss is satisfied. Well, you know, if the boss has the last say on whether a minister charged with corruption is indeed corrupt, I wonder when the boss is charged of corruption or charged with corruption or accused of corruption, I wonder who will clear him. If he is the ultimate, he has the last say on whether a minister is engaged in corruption, which he should not. I think we should have an independent investigation. If the minister is not guilty, then the minister is not guilty. But it reached a point where the minister was forced to publicly come out and defend herself. It seems they must have had a discussion in the party and the government. So it has reached high places. And if it could reach high places, then it is only fair that there be some independent investigation. The government has foregone that. No independent investigation. The president is satisfied that the minister is clean. Again, do we call that democracy? I mean, really, do we think that this government, not many governments will do it, but this government wouldn't do it? Do we really think this government would put one of his ministers out to pasture? I doubt it. I doubt it. No, I don't know that the minister is corrupt. Mr. Mohammed has made the charge. I have said on this program and other places that Mr. Mohammed should know for obvious reasons. And so I put a lot of store on what Mr. Mohammed has put out there. Because like I said, he knows where dead bodies are. So when he speaks on this issue, the rest of us should listen. And like I said, the charges that he has made has forced the minister to defend herself publicly. And then now force our government and our leader to come out behind her. I would want to see an independent investigation of the minister. And if the minister is square, she's squared. People must have a right to defend themselves. But in the absence of an independent investigation, we have to depend on the Lord. Lord Ali. He said he's satisfied that she's cleared. I can't accept that. I'm not challenging Ali's integrity. All I'm saying is that you are the head of this government. This lady is part of your government. And if she's charged of that level of corruption, if she's cleared, then your government is cleared. Allow an independent investigation so that she could clear her name. The fact that you have not done that leaves more questions than answers. We shall see. Because something tells me it's not over. Something tells me it's not over. So, sisters and brothers, that is where we are. We are nowhere closer tonight to answers to real serious questions. I started out by making the point that we do not have a democracy. And it's not a case about a functioning or a non-functioning democracy. Because you either have a democracy or you don't have a democracy. And if you have a non-functioning democracy, then it's not a democracy. We have a dysfunctional state and political system. And that leads to an economy that cannot stand the scrutiny of equitability. And so when we see the society going in directions that frighten a lot of us, we are correct in thinking that we are not headed to a good place. We should see. There are times when the citizens of the nation must step forward and correct the wrongs in the nation. Our society has gotten itself in a tangle, which is a check on political action itself. You know, there are lots of hypocrisy. There are lots of people who have gotten themselves tangled, and lots of groups. People have to engage in self-muzzling and all of that, which makes the society dysfunctional.